Hello, welcome to Dalma Makes and to part 2 of the Portal Bookends project. In this video I'm going to show you how I made the Everglade side. This project was inspired by the cores of 2 spent tapes. I made the basic structure of this side exactly the same as the first one. For more details, you can go watch part 1. I used foam core, and then I painted the core of the tape with a few coats of black paint first, then some light brown. I added a vinyl tape that had this really nice pattern in it that gives the sides of the portal the feeling of carved stone, at least in my opinion. It was a bit too wide, so I snipped off all the excess bits that were hanging over the edge, and then I painted the whole thing brown again to unify the two materials. After that dried, I applied a generous rubbing of a gold paint. This is acrylic paint with very low pigmentation, but a generous amount of shiny golden particles. And I think it just makes things look really magical. For the background of the wall section, I wanted to make a sky, and I am using a piece of pattern paper that transitions really beautifully from blue to green, just like a landscape would, and I just attached it with a glue stick and trimming off the edges, of course. For the ground part of the Everglade side, I wanted to make this hilly little scene with a magical orb in the middle. I actually used just a regular glass marble I found on the ground a number of years ago, and I'm using some fake moss stones that are aquarium decoration. So it's polystyrene and it's coated in some sort of synthetic grass fibers. And I'm also using a variety of plastic plants that I've painted a little to have a bit of color variation and to make them look more real. I'm also using some leftover flat leaves from a different project for a variation in vegetation. And I'm using hot glue to attach most of the things. Well, I really wanted this to be an Everglade scene with sort of like an evergreen forest in the background, so I really wanted to plant a tiny pine tree. To fill in the gaps between those mossy rocks, I am using a bunch of miniature flower clumps and static grass tufts. And I'm going with a red and yellow color variation, and I'm using tufts of different sizes and densities. I'm just using my tweezers to get into the nooks and crannies, and I'm also using a really small grass tufts to cover all of those places that were too small for the flowers. And I'm also putting a little bit of gold paint on the orb itself, just to make it look a bit more magical. The truth is the glass marble itself was a little bit damaged, so the paint helped cover a lot of that up. After the paint job, I attached some rhinestones to the edge of the portal, and for more details on how I did this, you can catch that in part 1 of this video. After a while, I decided though that those colors on the background paper were just a little bit too muted to my taste. So I pulled out some nice creamy acrylic paints, and I'm using 2 colors, beautiful sky blue and a nice bright green, and just mixing them right on the paper. Maybe for some people it's weird to have green in the sky, but to me this looked wonderful, and it made it seem like there's some sort of maybe haze in the distance. And I wanted to add clouds, and I had these wonderful stickers from a long time ago, and I was actually inspired to make this background from these stickers in the first place, so I just added them on. For the interior of the portal, I wanted this portal to open into the library that is depicted on the other side of the bookend. And because the portal is up high on the wall, I figured it wouldn't actually be looking down at the reading nook, but rather looking into the larger library. So I just picked an image, I printed it out, and I picked a really nice, interesting angle for the portal to look into. And I just used some PVA glue to stick everything down. For the interior of the portal and the very outside rim, I wanted to add this golden sand to match the other one from part 1. And it also makes it look a lot more magical this way. And it's another layer of texture. That's something I really enjoy in my pieces. And of course, to seal it all down, after the glue has dried, I made a thin mixture of PVA glue and water. When the time came for me to unify the base and the wall, I realized that I stuck all those little plants in the background onto the wrong side of the base. So unfortunately, I had to rip off all those plants and cut off everything to move them to the other side. This was a disheartening moment, but of course I didn't give up. Instead, I just found a way to make it work. I tried to salvage as much as I could of the materials used, but sadly the hot glue has melted some and I wasn't able to recover everything. But yes, I am relocating the little pine tree so that it's in the background. Once again, I just like to think of it as like a little baby pine tree, indicative of what the forest around is really like. And I've just went through the process of reattaching everything on the right side this time. And finally, I can unify the base with the background piece. And I just used hot glue for this once again. To hide the edges of the foam core and paper, I cut out strips of sturdy paper that I painted in a nice neutral brown color, and I'm sticking them all the way around the edges to just give that extra nice finish to this piece. And there it is. My Everglade portal side is also done. Here you can see them together. They form bookends, so the idea is that the portal actually goes through the books like a wormhole, and you can freely come and go between the library and the Everglade. This project has been a lot of fun for me to make, but it's also been very time consuming and it took a lot of hours. That's the main reason I decided to make this project a two-parter. Otherwise the video would have been really long. Please do go check out part 1, where I make the library side with all the tiny miniatures and the furniture. There will be a link at the end of the video as well as in the description. I've attached some pictures for you to enjoy. Thank you for watching. Do let me know what you think about this project in the comments. I would love to hear some feedback. I hope you're having a nice day. Bye!